First, thank you very much for the invitation to come here and talk. I also enjoyed seeing Jan's exhibitions and a little bit of the other part of the exhibition, and I'm so thrilled to be invited to Paris, and I can spend some time in Paris. My name is Carsten Rahbek. I am a professor in biodiversity. And what is biodiversity? Biodiversity is very simple. It is about life on Earth. It's the magnitude and the diversity of different types of organisms and how they interact with the atmosphere and ecosystem. It basically constitutes the foundations of Earth today as we human has developed in. And I'll talk a little bit about the beauty of nature, but most of the talk will be about the biodiversity crisis that we're currently in and why it matters for us humans. The first slide here is a favorite picture of mine, and for most people it doesn't say a lot of things, but it has some information. If we take tens of thousands of different species and map out where they are on Earth and overlay them, we can see that Earth is not homogeneous. There are different places on Earth that has much more life than other places. And dark blue, you can see Sahara, is where there's very little life. And when we go into light blue, like Europe, we have more. But when we come into the tropics, there is absolutely an explosion of life on Earth. Most of our resource impact is also on the tropics. When we work as scientists, we work with observations and facts. And facts can be very well supported by science, or it can be we're very unsure, but we think this is what's going on. But there are some very simple observations and facts on Earth that we know about the world we live in. And we often take them, we often don't understand and reflect upon the magnitude of what it really, how much it matters. And these are 3 slides showing very simple facts that we should reflect upon. The very first fact I'd like you to have in mind throughout my talk, that is that Earth is a biological planet. We don't live in a world of technology. We live in a world of biology. All the development of humankind has come from using resources from nature. We completely depend on the atmosphere that is made of, not of geology, but of the biological life on Earth. So the first thing we need to have in mind is that we live on a planet that is biologically. The next one is that this is the Milky Way, and there's lots of planets out there, but we have yet to find life on Earth, no life in the universe. Not clear close by, so we're searching far, far away. But basically we have this one Earth that's biological, that we live on and we depend upon. There are no planet B. So what we do on Earth, that will stay on Earth. And that's the third point. This is Earth. It's round, it's not endless, and everything we do on Earth will stay on Earth. So the action we've had through hundreds of thousands of years and what we do today has a consequence of this planet. We have now changed it so much that geology is now talking about the Anthropocene. That is the geological age of humans that has changed everything on planet so much. That's pretty amazing that we live in this time, that human has changed Earth so much that geologically we're now calling it the Anthropocene. The other thing that this picture shows is that we're missing something down here. And that is a tube where we can open it and all the waste that we produce in the world disappears out. The solution we've had so far is to mostly throw it out in the ocean, because the ocean is gigantic and endless and has no consequences, we thought. But now we start seeing impact back on oceans. We now have plastic islands in the ocean. So the largest one of them, which is between Hawaii and United States, is about 4 times the size of France. It's a floating island of plastic. It is changing the entire ecosystem of Earth. So we have to realize it's a biological planet. We depend on that because there's no planet B. And what we do on Earth, stay on Earth. So we need to think carefully about these things. And this is just to show that, my background is to work with biology. When I was a young student, I was sent into the rainforest of Ecuador in the Andes and did fieldwork for a couple of years. And lots of my knowledge comes from studying nature in nature. And I still continue today with doing a lot of fieldwork. And before I start talking about the biological crisis we have on Earth, I think it's also worth reminding ourselves how beautiful it is. This is from the Alpine zone. It could be the Arctic. We have in Northern Europe the lush green forest, but also deserts that have very little life. It's beautiful and has many forms. It's very diverse. And nature comes in many forms. This is a hot spring lake from Yellowstones. And all these fantastic colors are not chemicals. These are made of different types of life that has these colors. And if we go into the rainforest, then we have this immense biodiversity in forest. Jan's exhibition shows trees and it gives reflection about trees. But on land, where most biodiversity is, most things depends on trees and tree trunks. So if you go in the forest, 60% of all life in the forest actually depend on the tree trunk on the floor. So life depends so much on structure, and it depends on forest. But forest is also life. It's also something else. So life depends on life. This is fantastic. It's if I work in this area, and I've worked in these areas, and if I work in 4 square kilometers, I can find 800 different types of bird species. That's an enormous amount of bird species. I can say in comparison, if we take all of Europe all the way to the Ural Mountain, we only have 500 bird species breeding. So just in 4 or 5 square kilometers in the rainforest, we have this immense biodiversity. And lots of it we know because it's fantastic, it's beautiful, but most of biodiversity and life on Earth are made of small species, or as the American says, it's made of bugs. Things small, creepy, we don't know it, but these are the ones that makes Earth exist. And we have described about 1.7 million species on Earth, but we know that there's many, many more. Often in the media, we come out and say, we found a new species of something, and the media always say, oh, that's fantastic, but it's easy to find new species because we describe almost little. So we also live on a planet that is virtually unknown. And if we start looking into the rainforest, it is completely dense and it's almost impossible to move around. And if I go in and place here and work, I'll find maybe thousands of insect species. But if I move just 4 or 5 kilometers, there will be another 1,000 species that is not the same. So it's one of the difference between, for example, Europe. If I move, go outside of Paris and move 10 kilometers, it will be the same species. If I move 10 kilometers in the tropics, it's completely new species. So the variation of life on Earth are immense. And one of the things, and it's possible to work in, and if we start, working very careful in a tree, these 3 Brazilian colleagues of mine, they can probably spend about 5 years in the same tree in order to describe all the different species that are there. And it's really difficult to move around. These trees are 50, 60 meters tall. So we found out a clever solution. And the clever solution is basically that we fumigate, we poison the tree. And then we have nets below and everything drops down and then we can go out and find it. And then we can spend 3 years in describing the species. When we do this, 90% of everything that comes down has never been seen by science before. And if we go 5 kilometers, it's another 90% of species we haven't seen before. We estimate that there's about maybe 15 million species on Earth. Some biologists will say that there's 30 million. So it means that we only describe 10% of life on Earth. So life is enormous. It's very diverse. It's been built up through evolution, through time. But life on Earth is not stable. We have gone through different period of what we call mass extinction. And mass extinction is when 50 to 90% of all living organisms and forms disappear in very short period of time. The last one we had was 65 million years ago. And we only had 5 of these on Earth. And the last one happened 65 million years ago. So very long time ago. And that was when the dinosaurs disappeared from Earth. And why did they disappear? There was a asteroid that hit Earth. It hit the Earth outside of Yucatan in Mexico. You can actually still see the crater. And it causes the world to erupt in volcanoes. And it covered the Earth with a dark sky, and basically 90% of all species disappeared. The other point I want to make is that it is a very rare event. The last one was 65 million years ago. We often say that the dinosaurs disappeared. No, they didn't. You have dinosaurs here in Paris. Basically, birds are dinosaurs. The very small one, and those lineages of small dinosaurs that survive has actually evolved into birds. So birds is basically the descender of dinosaurs. But all the big dinosaurs disappeared. And the big dinosaurs were dominating, and they ruled the world, a little like humans. We ruled the world, we controlled the world. They were so successful, other things could not do very well. And there was mammals around. And these were small nocturnal species that basically was hiding away for what was dominating the world. But after the explosion of all these volcanoes, after the asteroid hits, then the world was changed. 90% went extinct, but some things survived. Birds survived, mammals survived. And there was a very famous paleobiologist, that is a person that studied the life, and he was asked 15 years ago by CNN that doing a New Year's Christmas party, and they asked him, what is the most important discovery that science has made? And he looked in the camera and said, we just realized we're lucky to be here. Because if this asteroid has not hit Earth and wiped out the dominant, mammals would probably not have evolved into humans. So there is a change, a risk and a change and random effect. But we are also now pushing things in a direction where we, as humans, are altering the Earth. So we have today what we call the biodiversity crisis. We are standing on the footstep of the 6th mass extinction on Earth. That means that we are now entering a period where we're losing species and biological diversity on Earth that we have not seen since the dinosaurs disappeared 65 million years ago. And there's no doubt that life on Earth will survive, but if we change the world a lot, then there will be there's no way to predict which species will come out successful and which will not. And since we depend on a world that has been stable, then we probably should think a little bit about how much we alter Earth, because in another age with a different climate, different geology, we might not be the best suitable on this. So we need to think about the 6 mass extinctions. And I showed that, we have this fantastic forest and there is millions of species in the Amazons, but this is not how most of Earth looks today. As a consequence of us using resources, this is how Earth looks like. 70% of all natural ecosystem in the world has been destroyed or altered by humans. We're basically changing the world. And why are we doing that? Well, we're doing it because we're doing agriculture. We're clearing land and forest to provide food. We are also having an industrial revolution, and we thought that, well, it's okay, everything goes into the air and stay in the air, have no consequence. We now know with climate change that it does have consequences. The pollution is changing things on Earth. Every month there's a new story in the media about chemical components and other things that we thought was safe in our factories that's now found out in nature that contributes to cancers. I talked about the idea we had that we can just manufacture plastic, and plastic takes enormous amount of years to disappear, and we could just kind of throw it out. Now we're starting to recycling, but we're not in balance. So we are using the earth for our benefit, but we're also creating a new world for us. And we can talk about, and I'm heavily involved in projects that says, how can we make greener cities? And I tell those that I collaborate saying, it's great to make greener cities, but we have to realize that cities only takes up 2% of space on Earth. But 80% of all the resources that is used on Earth is done by people in cities. We have a much larger use of what we call the human footprint when we live in cities. And what does this mean in terms of biological terms? It means that we live in a time where the extinction of species is 100 to 1,000 times larger than normal. All species are born, and if we believe in evolution, they stay on Earth and then they die out, 1 million or 2 million years later. But right now, we are losing species at maybe a factor of 1,000 times more than normal. That is the characteristic of mass extinctions. But it's not just species we're losing. We're also just losing basic life. We lost 25% of all individuals of birds and butterflies, and we lost 50% of all these bugs and insects that irritates us. But those are actually the ones that make ecosystem works and make our agriculture work. If we don't have a rich biodiversity in soil, our agriculture will not work. And we are aware of this. Some years ago there was a lot of media coverage in Europe that the former president of Brazil has started to burn down rainforest in Brazil. And we were very upset about it. All the stars in Hollywood went out and said, this is a bad guy. EU went out and said, please stop. Macron went out, and I will not cite all the things he said, but he said a lot of things. And he actually said, I'm sending you 10 million euros to Brazil, please figure it out. This is a billion dollar industry. But what we fail to realize is that, yes, there was enormous amount of burnings around, but what was driving it, what is basically driving the destruction of forest, is the demand for land clearing to have either cattle or to have agricultural product that we import, for example, soybeans, and feed our animals. So what is really driving this is our meat consumption. It's not a local Brazilian thing. We're in the same boat. So instead of pointing fingers at Brazilians that, you need to think, we were actually driving it with our consumptions. And the Brazilian president replied back saying, I am concerned about this, but I think Europe should look at Europe first. And you cleared 98% of all your forest. So let's just, have a decent conversation about these issues. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying we are one world and we have a global open economy, and we shouldn't be righteous about everything else everybody else is doing wrong thing without understanding how things are linked together. If we look at biodiversity, then I said that it's not just the species, it's also the individuals. And if we measure what we call biomass is the weight of an individual. And if we went 10,000 years back and weighted all the biomass of all living animals, it will basically constitute 100% of what we had. There will be 1% that constitute of humans and our livestock. But basically, all of the rest will be wild animals. Today, the situation is very, very different. Today, of all living matters of animals, humans constitute 32%. Our livestock consists of 76%. There's only 1% left of all the rest. Now, one thing I do of research is what causes viruses to jump from the wild animals to humans. And we've been afraid of pandemics for many, many years, and I'm still very afraid of it. And we went out and predicted that there will be pandemic coming more and more increasingly. Why? There's about 5 million microbes that can jump from wild animals to humans or our cattle and cause diseases. Now we wiped out everything else. So microbes only have one place to go, and that's us. That's the reality. And this is not because they have a United Nations meeting where they meet up and said, let's go for humans. Just if you have mutations and, if you hit resources, you end up hitting humans or our cattle and farm all the time. Then most of the time you die out, but once in a while there's a mutation that succeeds. And this will continue to happen. We can do things about it if we start thinking about how we produce animals, but we will have this more and more. I published a paper fairly recently, just before the COVID situation, where we showed that normally there was about 50 years between something jumping from the wild to humans that could cause a pandemic. It's not the same as it causing it, but it could. Now we're down to it happens every 5th year. And it's going that direction. We need to think about how to get a better balance with this. Beautiful. Nature is beautiful. It is wonderful. And I think that we should embrace and enjoy how beautiful it can be. Sometimes I'm asked, a lot of the work on preserving biodiversity is about preserving the beauty of nature. And I think we should. There's ethical and moral reason for doing it. But I want to try to communicate that biodiversity and nature is important for humans. What is this? Well, it's a plant and it's sun and it creates photosynthesis. And I could also ask out in this room, do you like to breathe? So is oxygen generated by humans and we go down and buy it in the supermarket? No, it's generated by nature. I'm not saying this is in risk of stop functioning, but we are really removing a lot of the things that goes into the photosynthesis. We're playing a little game to see, can it tip? Can it go wrong? But it's just to say that fundamentally, we depend on Earth. We depend on nature on Earth. We depend on photosynthesis. We depend on plants. They are super important. But they're also important at a much less abstract place. So, for example, of most of agriculture, the 100 most important crop. If we remove pollinators, that means insects that goes around from flower to flower, they are necessary for most of our crops. Not so much for the one we have in Europe, but for the rest of the world. We will have a massive drop of production of our food if we don't have wild insects that pollinate. And there's been a lot of these studies out, and you probably also heard them about them in France, saying that the amount of insects has dropped dramatically. And we talk about that we don't get them on the windshield and the car windows as much as when we were young. But there's been a dramatic drop of this. But just to say that our food production depends on insects. And here's an example from some of my own research. I like coffee. In my center, we have coffee machines, and it actually comes with a measurement of how much we drink. We drink about 30,000 cups of coffee in my center a year. There's enormous consumption of coffee. And coffee comes from the plant, and it don't need pollination. It can actually do without pollination, which is great. But this is a result showing that the more different species that comes and visit the flower, the higher the yield. And we basically goes from, if we have nothing that comes and visits it, we have a production of an index of 60, but we can get up to 90. That's 50% increase in the production if we have wild insect coming and visiting. In the past, farmers of coffees were removing nature in order to have larger fields. The new trend in coffee plantation is to actually get nature back because it comes with insects and it increases the yield dramatically. And if you're an economist, you can start calculating what the world market's value is for coffee. And if you can, just by having some insects around, increase that dramatically, that's worth it. Here's another example. We don't produce fish in a factory and set it out or buy it in the ecosystem in ocean is producing the fish, and we heavily depend on it. There's a 25% of the world population depends to some extent of fish. That is produced by the ecosystem in oceans. I love shrimps. I absolutely love shrimps. When I was young, they were really expensive. Now they're not expensive. They're not expensive because we have created shrimp farms all around. We've done that by removing the natural mangroves. That's basically the same as we've seen a collapse of the fish in mangroves that 200 million people depend upon. I get cheap shrimps, but a lot of people is not getting their fish. The other thing is the tsunamis. And we all heard these stories, and we've had terrible tsunamis. Tsunamis is not a new thing. It's always been there. We don't have more tsunamis than in the past, but they have more big consequences. And that's because we remove all the natural vegetation along the coast. Because before, the natural mangroves took the tsunami, and people were living more inland. Now we removed it, and we moved people to the coast. That's why tsunamis have such a dramatic impact. Or this is a picture from Belgium, where we had this a couple of years ago. Had this massive heavy rain, a massive mudslide, and people dying, and lots of devastations. And people often saying this is because of climate change. No, it's not. Yes, we have more heavy rain in period because of climate change. We've had it in the past, and they didn't cause this problem. But the problem of this is that we have eroded the land. We've removed the vegetation. So when it comes, water flows really quickly, and it ends up in these catastrophes. So the biodiversity, the vegetation around, it's been estimated that protecting natural habitats would save the insurance industry around 50 billion euros a year. So by, preserving the cheap, no worth nature, we could actually save a lot of money, and we would have less catastrophes than this. Another example is food production in the world. We have many, many regions that cannot sustain our food production to sustain the population. 20% of all agricultural land is now destroyed. because we destroyed the natural circulations of nutrients, the natural circulations that is managed by all these bugs and insects. 20% of all agricultural land on Earth, you cannot do agriculture anymore. That's a lot. Again, this is not caused by climate change and drought. This is caused by there's no ecosystem that works anymore. Droughts enhances the effect, but doesn't cause it directly. It has another consequence, which we discussed in Europe. If a population cannot be sustained and you cannot make a livelihood and you can't see a future, the responses of humans through time has to move. And IPCC, which is the United Nations Climate Panel, and IPBES, the Biodiversity Panel, they have estimated that if we do not re-establish natural ecosystem to get these systems and agriculture to work, there is an estimate that we will have 50 to 700 million people on the move. The consequence of this is gigantic, and we're debating it in Europe. What do we do with these? But what we're seeing now is just a little bit of what we will see for Africa. Because people are not going to stay where they can't live. And we really have a problem here. So we need to do something with climate change, and we need to do something about vegetation and to get the food system to work again. But there's a lot of good things that nature does for us. We often think about climate change, and that is caused by burning of fossil fuels. Yes, that is the main cause, but it's not all the cause. 55% of all the increase and change in climate is caused by destruction of nature. So when we removed all the forest in Europe, we've let a lot of CO2 out. When we removed lakes and water, that's also caused. So we actually, by destruction nature, we make climate change worse. Fresh water. And in Europe, we've had, and especially in my country, Denmark, we have a long tradition. Let's drain it so we can get a little bit more agricultural land. But when we drain it, we release CO2 into the atmosphere, dramatic amounts. So freshwater holds 20 to 30% of all the global carbon pool. We really don't want that released. So this is why at the last couple of COP meetings, the international meetings on climate, the main agreement was let's use nature to hold on to carbon and to take up more carbon. That's what I call that while we're waiting for technology to save us, we have one known technology, and that is nature. And the COP meetings basically said that 30 to 40% of the climate problem will be solved by using nature and preserving nature and get more of nature. This is the ocean, and it's hard to look down, so we don't know much about it. Of course, researchers knows. When I give lectures, I always say, remember next time you are at the ocean, go out and kiss the ocean. It's really a good friend. Ocean absorbs 30 to 50% of all the carbon we released. Imagine if it did not do that. Researchers now say it will not continue absorbing because it's already filled up. It cannot work anymore, so it will stop absorbing. That means that we will take out less carbon. The other thing is that most coastal areas, we have destroyed the green stuff that actually is responsible for taking out a lot of the CO2. But we really should be happy about oceans. This is the sustainability goals. And we have 17 of these, and they're often displayed, displayed this way. And I will argue that that is the wrong way to look at it. The way we need to look at it is this. These are in the bottom, there's 4 goals. It is climate, it is water, and it's biodiversity, life on land, and life on water. Those constitute the biosphere. Those constitute what makes Earth work. The other one is society and economy. When we look at how good we have been on this, we've been fairly good on the economy side. We've been fairly good on society side, and we haven't done much about the biodiversity. But everything else depends on the biosphere. So there's now a lot of focus on that. United Nations has completely shifted their sustainability approach to an approach like this, saying we need to solve the foundation because the rest of the solution depends on that. And I mentioned water a couple of times. When I drink water from this, and if I go down in a boutique and buy it, what am I buying? Well, I'll say I buy water. No, I do not. I do not buy clean water. I buy plastic. The water comes from nature. Somewhere it's been tapped out of nature. So nature produced clean water. We manufacture plastic, which we throw away, and we put water from nature in it. When we make water dirty, for example, going to the toilet, it takes, the water doesn't, it comes out, and some countries is cleaning it up, a little bit. But mostly it goes out into nature. And it takes 40 years to come back for a molecule that was dirty to come back clean. 40 years. But nature and ecosystem are cleaning the water for us. We depend so heavily on water. Our hygiene, food productions, beer production depends so heavily on it. Clothes productions, all of those things depend on water. The amount of clean water on Earth is now half of what it was 40 years ago. There are political scientists saying the future wars will be about water. We can have water everywhere, but it requires nature to clean it. If we look at Earth and how we consume things, this is called, this is the footprint we have. And basically, if we look at all the resources we use as humans, we use about 1.5 Earth every year. That means that we use 50% more than is being reproduced. It's not sustainable. We can continue using it, but we're basically removing resources from Earth. And it's going to work, and it's going to work 10 years and 20 years and 30 years, but there's going to be a price to be paid because resources are becoming more and more scarce. The projection of where we are heading is that by 2050, we will be using more than double the resources that is renewed on Earth. In Denmark, we have used the amount of resources that Denmark, measured as per capita, in February. The rest we have overshoot. That means we are consuming more than our equal share. I did not check France, but most European countries has reaching their share of the Earth's resources in the spring. So this is not sustainable. And this is very much about, the resources on Earth, and especially the biological resources. We need to get those into be sustainable used. Biodiversity is not about protecting it, it's about using it in a sustainable manner. This is one of the very important things. One of the other messages, because I know we all talk about climate change and I work with climate change, but I've gone out and said the biodiversity crisis, what I talked about, is actually more severe than the climate change. It's more difficult to get your grasp on. This is a figure that was done by climatologists, and basically what they want to look at, they call it the planetary boundaries. And I'm often being told by my communication people, do not talk about this, it's too complex, but I'll try to do it because it's important. So they basically look at the system and saying, if you are in the green, then you're okay. The orange, you should start worrying, and the red, we are hitting the boundary of the planetary of Earth, what it can sustain. And if we're zooming in on climate change, and remember this is done by climatologists, some of the world-leading climatologists, they're basically saying that this is the planetary boundary, and the climate change is within it. That is not to say that climate change will not be severe and have dramatic changes, but it's doable to fix. We are still within reach of what we can fix with it. So that's the climate change. But if you go to the biological diversity, they're saying we are in the red. It's very, very urgent. Also because some of the changes we do to biodiversity is what we call non-reversible. You can't change it back. Whereas we can do that with climate. I'm often being asked, okay, I understand, what can I do as an individual? We all want to, relate to things, and what can I do? And I normally say the strongest power we have as individuals is what we buy. That's where one can send an individual signal in what we buy. And I mentioned that our meat consumption was, tremendous. And that's actually driving most of the destruction of biodiversity on Earth. So one could consider not eating as much meat, going for chicken instead of red beef, and there's other things. Right now, there's no labeling anywhere in the world about the impact of climate change. We're starting to see labeling on the climate change. The nice thing about it is that everything you hear about the negative impact of meat on climate is exactly the same as for biodiversity. So you can use that as a rule of thumb. But big companies and food producers are paying attention to the shopping behavior. And in many places, and big companies are changing before governments are changing because they are predicting that the future consumers will demand it. So they're already preparing. But it's also a little bit of thinking about that we drive these consumption patterns. This is from Southeast Asia, and it's oil palm plantations. This used to be huge biodiversity forest, and you can see there's a little bit left. But the rest is oil palm plantations. They look like this. There's no life in there. We are producing oil palm. This is a relatively new thing. So it's come in over the last couple of decades. But because it's so cheap, because we don't pay a cost for destroying anything, it's super cheap. And it basically means that it goes into almost all kind of products. Hygiene products, candies, food, because it's so cheap. It's not because we couldn't make it without. We could. It's just very cheap to make it with it. And if I sometimes say to people, go down in the supermarket, and if you have good labeling, try to find something that is not being made cheaper by putting palm oil into it. But the destruction of palm oil in Southeast Asia is driving a lot of the poverty and other problems there. This was the point about the beef. I have to admit, I really like steaks. I really like steaks. They basically say that for climate and biodiversity, if you cut it down to about 50 grams per day, that's okay. The problem is not that we eat beef. The problem is our enormous overconsumptions. And at least in Denmark, we have some health guidance. And this is healthy diet. And basically, if you follow those, there's much less beef in it than we have, than most people are eating. But we need to reduce that. And this is from Brazil. This is soybeans. Soybeans is being produced to make food for pigs and cattle and other things. And you can see here's the rainforest. The rainforest is responsible for all the water circulation that makes South America work. And if we hit a tipping point where we remove too much, then there will be less water, and then we will have less agriculture in South America. But it's being destroyed because it's cheap because there's no price to, that there's no rainfall on the producers, and then we import it. Actually, there's a difference between this field and this field. This field is viewed as destruction. Here, the Brazilian government has put up, as we have in Denmark and other places, if there's some trees, then it's okay. This is some trees. But again, what drives this is the consumers. I come from the country that produces most pigs in the world. We're tiny, tiny. And we import heavily from here. We claim it's waste. But basically everything here is produced as waste, because then we circumvent our problems in import. So we produce enormous amount of pigs. I'm very positive in solving this because there's a lot of awareness of it. And this is the big, to a lot of people, this is, what we don't like. Big commercial industry that only thinks about profit. But actually, the private sector are the one that at meetings are pushing for harder and harder restriction on these things, because they are concerned about two things. They believe that resources from their manufacturer will decrease, and that will be a problem, so it's not sustainable. And they think consumers and people will react to this, so they like to change it. When the World Economic Forum made a request to the chairman of boards and CEOs of the biggest company in the world and asked them to link, the 10 top priorities for you to think about in the future, then the 3-1 was climate, extreme weather, and biodiversity. They are thinking about it. It's not the same to say that, that they are going to solve the whole thing, but they're really moving. In the COP meetings, that is the United Nations top meeting in Montreal in December, where there was a global agreement, the one that was lobbying for stronger agreement was the private sector. They were not happy. It was too much, it wasn't clear enough. It wasn't hard enough. They wanted clear rules to play with. So they are moving. And a lot of this built on just like we have the biodiversity panel, we also have, the climate panel, we also have biodiversity panel. So there's an economic, there's a scientific consensus. And we know, what the problems are. We know what the solutions are. So it comes down to political decisions. And we have had this. Europe has, 1.5 years ago, have a biodiversity strategy. And it wasn't the Minister of Environment that launched it. It was the chairman, or the chairperson of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, that announced it. And she announced it, that nature also provides for business. So half the world's product comes from nature. It's not something we produce. We depend on half of it. So that was actually an economic reason for the EU to go out. They are coming with lots of things that will be legally binding for EU member states. And she basically said, why do we need to do it? It is time to fix our broken relationship with nature, climate change, loss of biodiversity, and the spread of pandemics. Basically the same things I've been talking about. And she refers back to the scientific consensus report. But this is her opening speak on why we need to do this. And we had this meeting in Montreal on the COP meeting, and we had 195 countries signing up to stop the loss of biodiversity. And it's a meeting that's very interesting because it was under the leadership of China. And China really pushed this through. So they were very instrumental. And basically what they did, what the world countries have decided is that 30% of Earth should be protected as nature, on land and in ocean. It sounds good, right? We also have decided in the EU, if we think about it, 30% is a lot. It's a change in how we do societies. And that requires, and I think most people are not aware of these decisions that are coming and what the consequences would be, because it will not be slight adjustment to business as usual. There will be really different thinking in how we do our societies if we are to do it. And I talked a lot about all the problems, And I like this picture. It's actually a Chinese advertisement. And I have no idea what it's for. But I like this guy. I mean, it might be a big challenge, but it doesn't seem like that's stopping him. He's in for it. He will go for it. But these global challenges and the changes that actually been decided in the EU is dramatic. And I don't think we realize it. And it comes back to, if we really are to be successful, then we need to understand why changes are important. And it has to be that we need to have a public debate about it. It can't be a dictatorship decision coming. We need to have a public debate, and there's many different opinions on that. And to me, meeting the challenge of sustainability, climate change, and biodiversity is a matter of democracy. It's not about making a decision and then force everybody to do it. I think we've seen most places where we do that, it doesn't go well. So we need to have a debate. But we also need to have enlightenment, or at least start thinking about it. And that brings me to my last slide, that puts a circle here. I met Jan 3 years ago under COVID, and I think Jan traveled the world a lot, and I traveled the world a lot, and suddenly we were stuck. We couldn't travel, and then a common friend put us together and said, "You need to talk." And we have done lots of talking. We've done. This is a picture from an art project that we did, and mainly Jan did in Denmark. That I think provoked a lot of people. But I started to work a lot with artists, because I can stand as a scientist and I can communicate the best I can this way. But there's many ways to communicate. Just communicating, think about, just reflect. And it's not about me telling facts, it's about reflecting about what you see and discover in yourself and how you view it. And I think artists can do that. And I think they're instrumental in getting a reflection in society on many issues. And when I go around and see Jan's exhibition here, which is the first time I've seen this, it's fantastic. I have a reflection, but I'm sure everyone here has different reflections. But the important thing is there is a reflection. And I know Jan, he's never telling this is how you should understand everything. So there's an openness to it. But I think artists can do this. And I think that we need to communicate. I can communicate in my way. Jan can, and other artists can communicate in their ways. But we need communication in order to have a conversation. And the conversation is where we could make decisions and understand and find our way in how we want to change society. So I'm always in awe when I go into museums of art, because some of it I don't understand, but a lot of it gives me reflections. And that's what art do to me. But I think, and some of the things I've done with Jan has caused people to think. And that's important. So thank you very much. Yes, I'm open for questions if there's any questions. And as far as I understand, I can take questions in English, but I have a translator. So if you want to ask a question in French, I will get the translation here and I'll reply in English. So yes.
J'ai noté quelques petites choses. Alors, une chose qui m'a choquée, c'était qu'à un moment, vous avez dit attendre le salut de la technologie. Par rapport à ce que vous avez dit tout le long du parcours, je suis assez stupéfaite. J'ai l'impression que c'est un peu contradictoire, que d'attendre le salut de la technologie, sachant que la technologie, en tous les cas selon moi, ne pourra pas du tout nous faire sortir de ce problème énorme. Ça, c'est le premier point. Le deuxième point, il faut parler de changements dans nos comportements, dans nos petits comportements de vie, par rapport à manger moins de viande ou faire plus attention, économiser, enfin. Alors je mettrai ça avec le débat public. En fait, vous demandiez un débat public pour sauver la planète. Je trouve ça un peu incroyable, sachant que, par exemple, on ne nous demande pas, pour faire un iPhone 15, 16 ou 20, notre envie ou notre besoin ou pas notre besoin pour ça. J'ai l'impression que, de toute façon, nos petits changements, même si on les fait, ne changera pas le cours de la trajectoire que nous avons prise depuis déjà des millénaires. C'est juste une continuité et c'est le chemin que nous avons choisi. Et je pense que justement, par rapport à un changement et un véritable changement planétaire, puisque de toute façon, il ne peut pas en être autrement, c'est, je pense, au niveau de ceux qui, entre guillemets, tiennent le gouvernail du bateau, que ça se joue. Et je ne pense pas que en dessous de ça ou en deçà de ça, on puisse faire quelque chose et changer quelque chose. On peut changer quelque chose dans les comportements, avec l'éducation, avec des tas de choses, mais je pense que la majeure partie du changement ne peut pas venir de la masse et des petites gens. Merci.
Okay, so to the first point, you have definitely understood me correct. So if I said that technology could save us, then that was a mistake. My point was technology cannot save us. And then I said nature is known technology, so let's use nature. So yes, technology could do a lot of things, but if we talk, for example, about green energy I come from a country that produces windmills. Windmills cannot be stored. There's no way to store the production. This is why when it blows a lot, when there's lots of wind, we stop the windmills, because it cannot be stored. We are searching like desperate to find a way to store its energy. It's called power to X. It will not happen the next 10 years. My government is kind of saying, we're going to hit all the targets, but we're going to wait until the technology is there in the last minute. And my message is, let's not wait for that. I mean, it's good to have technology solution, but nature can help us with 40% of the thing. And then I'm kind of, to get into the jargon of how politicians think, I said that's a known technology. So if I expressed that, I thought that, otherwise that what I just said, I missed a no or something like that. To the other questions, I do believe that these dramatic changes has to come from the political systems. It has to come from, 195 countries in the world has agreed to do this, and they go out and implement things to do it. Just like the EU Commission has proposed these things, and they went in front of of all the member states and said, "Will you sign up to it?" And they have. But I'm and then we can kind of say, go vote for the politicians that want to do things, right? That's how we as individuals can. But I actually think, and the more I see, that the behavior we have also in consumptions can change a lot of things. And there's two observations. If I look at the youth, especially in Denmark, they are really behaving differently than my generation when we were young. They have much more green eyes on things. They're much more considering, will this be good or bad for climate or nature? And at least in Denmark, the politician parties are saying, we know that right now, my generation is voting who's going to be prime minister. but in 5-10 years, it's the young persons that are doing it. So they're paying attention. Not last election, but the previous one was called a climate election in Denmark. And basically the climate agenda decided the prime minister. And the political parties are paying attention to it. Then I'm often asked, yeah, but that's all good, but I want to do something. And that's why I say where I can suggest you can do something is in your behavior as a consumers. I have a very good friend, and he is the chairman of the board of Nestle. He's a Dane. And when I talk to him, he says, we think the individual consumers' movement on what they're buying will change a lot. So we already now starting to change how we produce things in order to be more competitive than the others. In Denmark, we used to have plastic bags. Whenever you went into a shop, you got a plastic bag, right? Then we tried that you pay a little bit of money and you could get in return. Didn't work. But actually some of the big supermarket chains say, we will not have plastic bags anymore because the consumers would probably like us more than the other ones. So I do think there's a change there. But I'm not naive. I don't think that the individual consumers can change the world. But it is a way that you can send a signal. And big industry is paying attention to what's the next generation of consumers going to be.
You say, thank you for your presentation, it's amazing, but you said that it's difficult to make the biodiversity improve. Have you examples of success of re-engineering the biodiversity in some area of the earth?
Yes, there are examples. They're very specific. Right now, the common tool has been let's not destruct and let's preserve. But in the international agreement, it was said that 30% on Earth should be protected. But it also says 30% should be restored. And right now, scientists like myself and all across Europe and the world, because there's a lot of money for it and there's a demand for it, we are researching how to do that. We're still in the early days of how to do it. We have some few examples of how it works, but we need to. But previous example was very much focused on let's restore something so a specific species survive. Now we're talking about restoring an ecosystem so it functions. We're also talking about restoring these soil ecosystems so agriculture can continue. Because it's only in rich countries where you don't care about the soil being destroyed because you just put artificial fertilizers on it. But that doesn't work for the rest of the world. So United Nations has called this decade we're in as a decade of restoration ecology. Yes, it is, very much. There's something called, there's two places in the world, but there's something called the Green Wall. And that's actually a project in Eastern Africa, running from Ethiopia and all the way down to Tanzania, that's about restoring forests, because there used to be forest all the way. And it's run by local communities that get help and donors, but they're basically restoring their little piece. And the idea is to establish a green wall. So there's big projects in Africa, but Africa, where I worked a lot, it's also a very difficult continent. There are so political turbulence. It's very unstable, and the economy is really bad. And there's a lot of external partners, let's say Europe, United States and China, that really wants to use that for their benefits. So Africa, and also Africa is not really organized into nations as we think they are. That's something that was established after colonial times, and it really doesn't work. So Africa is a very fragile political place, so it's difficult to work. It's other places in the world has been much more successful. Latin America and Southeast Asia. But Africa is, we often talk about Africa being the odd person out, the one that all the things we're doing is not working. And to understand, it's not an easy solution to it, but there are lots of examples. 30 years ago, we sent, in Denmark and many countries, we gave foreign aid that basically funded goats in the Sahel zone. But goats was the problem. So basically we gave it because, they need something to live on, but goats absolutely destroy the things. Those kind of projects has also stopped because we've become wiser.
Yes. Hello. Thank you very much for these exhaustive studies that you've made through your career. It shows the contradiction about our actions and the huge problem of global warming. But I'm going to react to what you have said and what Mrs. have said. What about your collaboration with Danh Vo? Because, such as Mrs. says, artists have a power to evolve in nature. Like, for example, Fabrice Hibert, who regreen, if it's a good word in English, is its region in 30 years also.
But, sorry, what was the question?
Okay, to be simple, what about your collaboration with Danh Vo?
Yes. What about it? As I said, I think Jan is making art that causes people to think. So if we look at the forest or the trees up there, it's quite unique that you see something like that in a place like this. And there's many levels you can understand, the trees from. But it brings trees into the minds of people. And when you get other information, you can start forming, trees are important, or trees, I had a reflection, cultural experience with that. And that's what I think art is good at. They cause something that people can reflect upon. Whereas scientists quite often goes out and tell, this is how you should understand things. And I think there's a limit to when science communicating, this is how it is, this is how we should do, because we don't rule the world, and we shouldn't do it. But I think people are ruling it, and I think people are, on many levels, are inspired, and inspiration comes from thinking and reflections. And I'm not saying that every person that goes and sees Jans gets the same out of it. I hope not. But I let Jans speak for his art. But I do think that in many of the projects that I've seen Jan doing, he's moving more and more into the sphere of these challenges, but in his really own way.
So maybe for you, to synthesize, the installation of Dan may touch people subconsciously or in a very pragmatical way.
I don't think Carsten should interpret my work. He's not here for that.
Thank you. It's a very interesting reaction.
Yes, thank you very much. I have more specific questions with regards to forest. I mean, Dan put up there some oak trees. Now we're in a situation where in France, almost all the oaks in forest are dying because of the water shortage. And governments are now suggesting to plant other type of trees that would be suited for a weather where it would rain less. And I would like to know, you as a specialist in biodiversity, how do you react, particularly when you're mentioning in Africa that they decided to bring goats? How can a politician or any administration imagine what type of trees we have to plant to replace those that are going to be dying because of our behavior?
So I don't know all the tree species and the conditions in France. I will say oak is generally really good at drought. If you go to the driest areas in Spain, you have oak. But there's lots of very good French experts on this, and I'm sure that they can, provide better answers and more insightful answers of which trees to replant where, and also giving the conditions that there's going to be less water available. Yes, but to me, it's not a black and white situation. Forestry products is super important for our societies. They are also super important to biodiversity and climate. It's not a choice between either we do one thing or not the other, but to find a balance. And this is why the recommendation for the United Nations panels are preserve the existing forest cover, but you can make forestry as long as you have, regeneration of it, and extend it so you get more. That's the general recommendation. So it's not a battle between we can't use it to we should use it all. That's to me that's a little bit of two black and white positions on it. But in Denmark, this is a dramatic discussion. How should we use the forest? And I'm just pointing to that forest is more than timber products. It's also about nature and climate preservation. Thank you.